Hello everyone, Wayne from the Cernan Earth and Space Center here. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at what happens when a star dies. Well, just like everything in our universe, stars do have a life cycle that they go through, and what happens when they reach the end of that life cycle depends on a few different things, but mainly on the size of that star, how massive it is. So we'll take a look at some of the different branches that stars can progress down in their life cycles and see what happens at the end of each of those types of stars. So buckle in and let's take a look. Well, there are three main things that can happen when a star dies. For stars that are around the size of our sun, anywhere from a little bit smaller to around 8 times the mass of the sun, they will continue to grow throughout their life cycle, as we can see here. And our sun will continue to grow and eventually swallow up most of the inner planets. It will definitely swallow up Mercury and Venus, possibly even the Earth and Mars. It will continue to get redder as it grows, as its temperature falls, and then eventually the outer layers will dissipate into space and it will shrink back in on itself, and what will be left behind is called a white dwarf, a small dense star that is about the mass of the sun, a little bit less, and isn't releasing very much heat. There's no fusion happening anymore. It is just leftover thermal energy. And we can see here that the sun has stopped growing and will now shrink back in on itself, leaving just that white dwarf behind. Now don't worry, we have about 5 billion years before this happens to our sun. And if you have a star that is much heavier, over 8 solar masses, a couple different things can happen. The star will continue to grow just as our sun did until it starts to form iron in its core, and then it needs more energy than it can create. When that happens, the star will collapse in on itself and have a tremendous supernova, which we will see here in just a moment. And what's left behind after that depends on the mass of the core of that supermassive star. If it's around 3 or 4 solar masses, you're left behind with a neutron star, which is a very dense bunch of neutrons. A teaspoon would weigh more than all of the buildings here in Chicago. But if it's more than that 3 or 4 solar masses, then it will continue to collapse in on itself, and you're left with a black hole, which is an area of space that has such strong gravity that not even light can escape. Well, thank you everyone for joining me and learning about what happens when a star reaches the end of its life cycle. One of those things that can happen, like we said, was a black hole. And the picture you can see right behind me here is the first picture taken directly of a black hole. It was released just a couple years ago, and it was quite an undertaking to get this picture. Data had to be taken from telescopes all over the world and analyzed and put together so they could get this image of an actual black hole and the debris field around it. So it was quite a scientific undertaking and a fantastic image that came out of it. Now remember, even though you might not be able to see everything up there, you definitely should get out there and take a look at your night skies.